Hi and welcome to today's edition of Bounce Back. As it finally looks as if we're past the peak and we can start seeing the curves on the downslope, we can really start thinking now about coming back into the coaching market. And as we've been saying all along, thinking forward and thinking how we're going to bounce back as and when the time is right. We know we're going to get new government guidelines coming on Sunday in a detailed presentation from the Prime Minister, and that will no doubt give us an indication of when things may or may not start to return a little bit more to what the new normal is going to be. Those guidelines we know will shape the way of coaching for the rest of this year, if not beyond. But having spoken to a number of key people over the past few days, including communication with the Department of Culture, Media and Sport and the Minister directly, it would appear that the order of reopening is going to be along the lines of schools will reopen first, parks may then reopen, and finally closed clubs and membership clubs may be allowed to open. Which means we're going to go through schools, possibly parks, and then before we can get to the clubs. So now's the time to start being creative. So where are you going to be able to coach? So if the schools are going to open first, does this mean there's an opportunity to actually start coaching in schools before the club is going to be able to open? So if you're already working with people, is there a possibility of moving that coaching from the club to a different venue whilst the club is still closed? We don't know, but we should start looking at alternatives. So maybe you don't coach in secondary schools at the moment, not many people do, but those secondary schools probably do have tennis courts. So is there an opportunity of reopening some of your coaching under the guidelines that we're setting when the schools reopen? Maybe not during school hours, maybe it's something you can work on outside. I don't know. I'm saying start being creative. Maybe you can start doing something in the parks again before the clubs are allowed to open. And for sure, when the clubs open, they're going to be opening without the clubhouse itself being open. So start thinking about how are you going to manage that situation as and when it happens. We know social distancing is still going to be in place. We know we've already done about 50, 60 drills now, which we'll release at some stage in the next few days, which are safe distancing drills. We know we can manage the court properly, effectively and safely. But are you going to have to take smaller groups now? Are we going to say maybe 2 or maybe 4 is the maximum you can have on the court at any one time? So how are you going to manage your players? If you were working on groups of 4 or 6 or 8, how are you going to keep all those players in the program if you can only take 2 at a time or only take 4 at a time? How is that going to affect your business model? Are you going to have to coach more hours? Are you going to have to charge more to address the balance of the income for the hours spent? How are you going to do that? I can't tell you the answer, but I can certainly ask you to start thinking about it, and how are you going to make that work going forwards? Are we going to play some sort of tournaments? We know the official tournaments are not going to happen for a while yet, but we need the kids when they come back to play to start competing. So are there other ways that we can have them competing? The family unit we know is very strong now. So are we looking at family coaching? Are we looking at family tournaments? Maybe some kind of Davis Cup event. Dad plays dad, mum plays mum, children play children, and we have it as some kind of Davis Cup. Maybe a tournament where the family play and all the points count. So every match we don't know the winner until the very end. So, different creative ways of working with the teams. Are we going to play just orange ball? Are we going to play just green ball, the family ball? How are we going to make these tournaments work? Is there a route for the introduction of the old handicapping system? We may be playing lots of internal matches in the first place, but not many clubs are going to have enough players at the same level to make that competitive. So do we have to go back to the old handicapping system to make some kind of competitive and compelling matches within the club? Are we going to go back to the old postal style events? where we actually arrange our own matches and just send the results in. Much easier now with modern technology, using email and WhatsApp and everything. Arrange your matches, go away, play the match, come back, feed it in, and we can keep the draw going. No crowds, no big groups together, but we're still competing. Start thinking. And how are you going to start marketing tennis? We know, and we've been pushing all along, tennis is safe. So how are we going to market that? How are we going to make sure people are aware that the tennis is a real, genuine option to get exercise, to get active again, and to start playing sport, but maintaining the safety element that we know is absolutely critical for everybody going forwards. Nobody wants a second spike. We'll do everything we can to get people playing tennis again, but playing safely. So start thinking, be creative, think outside the box, be a little bit more adventurous maybe in your thinking, but start looking at how is your business going to look as and when we're able to bounce back and get people on the court and playing again. But as ever, until then, please stay well, stay safe, and take care. Cheers.